I'm Pat Carter, and I'm chopping it up with Buck.
All right, welcome to Chopping It Up with Buck. Hey, we took a little hiatus, but we had to come back with one of my guys, Pat Carter, longtime NFL player, Florida State guy. And it's funny how I got to know Pat. I was a little bit younger, but I knew the Miami guy, Willie Smith. And then I'm watching Florida State, and I'm saying, who's that 85? Okay. Shaped like me, running around like making Grad. I'm like, okay, I got to watch this cat. And lo and behold, he ends up going to the Rams, where a lot of UCLA guys were. And so PC and I have known each other a long time, worked out together, got to know each other. And when you're in the tight end crew, it ain't a lot of us, and we know the whole story. So Pat, happy to have you on the show this week.
Man, thanks for having me. You see, I had to rock my Florida State stuff this week. But I also wanted to pay homage to Coach Bowden. He's going through some tough times right now, but he's special to all the players that play for him. He means so much to us and to the university as well. So, my prayers are out to him and his family.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, PC, because Terry Donahue passed away a few weeks ago, and Coach Donahue, I got to know him really well, and I think when you have your coaches, they become father figures. And it's interesting, us being Black guys, let's just be real. Sometimes you don't know what you're going to get out of those coaches if they can relate to you. Right. And initially with Coach Donahue, there was some rough spots with me, just being from Houston, being a little different and West Coast guy. But I got to really appreciate him around my sophomore year. Got in a little trouble, and he came and kind of saved the day. And he had told me, he said, "Hey, I told your mom I'd take care of you. And whether you're a good player or not, I feel I owe that to her." And I always appreciated that. And as I got older, I got to know his family better. His wife was always great, Andrea, a sweetheart, and his three daughters. But it just showed me, really, it doesn't matter the color of your skin, and you're not gonna always agree with them cats either. but they really help you, and I'm sure you feel the same way about Coach Bowden.
Oh, without a doubt. Some people got a little upset with me when I kind of criticized Coach Bowden a little bit about, him supporting Trump.
Yeah.
But, I'll be honest with you. That doesn't take away from the fact of my adoration and my love and just how grateful I am. He's is what he's done for me. But at the same time, I just didn't agree with that. But that doesn't change my feelings for him at all.
Yeah. Well, going back to high school, Sarasota, Florida, you came up, played probably all the sports, Riverview High School. I think you're a Hall of Fame there, and with Florida State. Tell us about your maturation process, and how'd you get to Florida State, and what did that look like?
And interestingly enough, growing up here, obviously in Florida, it's a tremendous amount of athletes, and every community, every neighborhood has some. I wasn't that guy. I really was not the guy till I got to high school. I was hanging with the guys and doing my thing, but I was not the guy that was head and shoulders above anyone. But I like to say I was a late bloomer. So technically, when I got to high school, I played JV football, JV basketball, and I guess the turning point for me was when my junior year in high school. We had an offensive lineman named Glenn Mogul. Glenn Mogul was like 6'8", 250, 260. Now you got to remember, this is the 80s. We didn't have dudes like that. And so he, I think he ended up going to Michigan, but all the schools from all over the country was coming in to see him. But guess what? When they came to see him, guess who flashed? It was me. So at the same time, I was the hot ticket the following season. Which was my senior year. It was the 83 season, and I graduated in 84.
Isn't that amazing how that happens? I mean, I know growing up in Texas, kind of the same way. I didn't play varsity football until my junior year. I played varsity basketball earlier, played baseball probably from my freshman year. And we had so many guys that were good to get on the field. And I think to be able to play, and I'm glad when coaches realize that and they kind of see what your talent level is, So what about recruiting with Florida State? I mean, you could have went to Miami. You could have went to some of the other schools,
yeah,
Florida. Yeah.
But that was the point being once Mogul came in and they obviously I had to be able to play as well.
Yeah.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
And but once they came in and saw me, I mean, I could have gone to anywhere. I took 5 trips though, but I went to I got to tell you my recruiting trips though. I went to University of Miami. I went to Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia, and I had committed to Georgia. I was not even going to take my Florida State trip. I was tired of recruiting process. One of my high school coaches pulled me aside and said, Florida State's been recruiting you the whole time. Least you could do is just go take the visit. And obviously the rest is history.
Well, I know you had a lot of fun in Miami.
Oh my goodness, yes, I did. And those guys are still my friends to this day.
Well, what's funny about that, I didn't go to Miami for the recruiting trip. I took the one to LSU, Stanford, Notre Dame, and UCLA, and then ended up going to UCLA, kind of knowing from the beginning that's the one I liked, but all the other ones. And I was going to take that trip to Miami, and I just decided not to take that last trip.
Let me ask you this, though. Being in California, that was such a long distance from being home, because we could go home on the week. Like if we had a bye week, we might practice that Friday. We'll leave and get in the car 4 hours. We're back home, you know?
Yeah, the one thing, I had some relatives on the West Coast, which was good. Okay. And then also the guys that I went to school with, you know, you became close with them. You go home and hang out with them. And, you know, that part made it good. So we always, you know, see and hear, I think the rivalry between Miami and Florida State, you were in the genesis of that rivalry, where it was really starting to come on the scene. I know you hate Florida. We'll talk about that. Yeah. If you're a Florida State guy, but you said Miami, it was like,
we call it a gentleman's rivalry.
I don't remember that. When I watch y'all play, it didn't look too gentlemanly.
Oh, no. We was trying to kill each other on the field, but after the game, it was all love. Them was our boys, you know.
What are your biggest memories from the Florida State Miami rivalry and games?
I only beat them one time, you know, and the win was actually my freshman year. Jesse Hester had a monster game that game.
My teammate in Indianapolis.
Pardon me?
My teammate in Indianapolis,
That's right.
Muck City guy, right?
Huh?
He's up in that Muck City.
Belglade. That's right. That's right. He's down there from the Muck. That's right. And but to be honest with you, my senior year should have been our breakthrough year, but we didn't win that game. But that game, which was '87, was the game that really kind of catapulted the rivalry onto the national stage. Yeah,
I mean, you bring that up. I know when you guys went for it for a 2-point conversion, Bubba McDowell was right in front of you. The ball short. Danny didn't get it to you, right?
The ball was supposed to go on the back pylon, bro. You know that. You done ran that route.
That corner route when you're in
the back pylon.
Hey, Pat, so did you have I know you had your body on Bubba. It was no way he was going to get through you to the ball. Correct. On that particular play. So it was just a short pass, end up not being able to complete it.
Correct.
It's funny when you go back and you read the articles and you just remember that. I remember that play vividly because the Miami guys probably said, oh, we got it all under control. But you guys had practiced that and you knew that. And it just looked, even the shock on the sideline by the coaching staff and the players when that didn't happen.
But you know what? I found this out later on. We gave a key away. We took Sammy Smith out of the game and put Dexter Carter in. So guess what? You already told on yourself right there what you're going to do. You're not going to run from down there with Dexter Carter. He's a little too small for that, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, that was a telltale sign. I think we messed up right there.
What else do you remember about Florida State? Not the football side, but just school and the people that you met.
Great campus, great people, fun. I had a blast in Tallahassee. Great school. But one thing I can honestly say though, as far as the and I'm talking about the Florida State program, they stressed academics. You know, I just wasn't there to play football. Now I was there to get my degree. Yeah. And one of the proudest things I can honestly, I have a couple proud things. I'll tell you the second one later, but was the fact that I graduated college. My grandmother made me promise her before she died, and she said, they're going to get all this football out of you. You better get something out of them. You better graduate. I was like, yes, ma'am, I will. And I ended up going in the off season, like I think it was my third or fourth year in the league.
Yeah.
Off season is when I finished,
The same here. My grandmother kind of said the same thing. She was a librarian by trade, raised 10 kids with my grandfather, who was a mail carrier.
Okay.
And, mail carrier / tax guy,
right.
And those black neighborhoods.
Yeah, back then they had to juggle multiple hats then to make it. I get
it. Yeah. Well, that's good.
Hi guys, Didi Wong here, and as you guys may know, I am an international award-winning speaker, I'm an entrepreneur, and I love investing in amazing products out there, one of which is now Thin Energy. It is a plant-based beverage. It has really huge hydration benefits. My favorite is the Peach Passion. I am so excited about this project. It's called Thin Energy. Please check it out.
So all those guys were starting to go to the league. You knew kind of right away you'd have a chance at the next level, or how did that start happening? When did that happen for you?
Well, it's funny. This is the funny thing. My freshman year, our first game of the year, I think it was against East Carolina. Mm-hmm. And it was a close game that I think we eventually pulled away. I did not play one snap. I'm mad. I'm ready to transfer. But as fate would have it, the meeting the following Sunday, the starter was Pete Panton. Pete Panton came to the meeting dead drunk. So he got suspended. And I ended up starting the next week. And once you put me in the rotation, it was going to be hard to get me out of there then. So, and that's kind of what happened. I was starting as a freshman.
Oh, wow.
So Pete and I kind of alternated starting the rest of the season.
Oh, that's too funny. And so, you start for 4 years, basically off and on your freshman year, but then take over the position. Similar to me. In my sophomore year, I really got the chance to get in the lineup. One catch for 7 yards my freshman year. I was pissed, but I played every game.
So you feel me then? You feel me?
I know exactly what you mean.
Yes, sir.
But as those scouts are coming around, and you made plays in a lot of games, being in big games too. I think they look at that. What were the things that you remember about being not recruited to the league, but then knowing that you were going to get drafted at such a high pick?
Well, this was I'll be honest with you. That's why I said my freshman year, we played Auburn. Auburn had this linebacker, Greg Carr.
Oh yeah.
Back then, and he was that dude. Man, I was killing him. And so when I saw the draft, that was my first. So that was 84. So that was the 85 draft.
Yeah.
And he got drafted and I was like, I might have a shot. I didn't think I would. But what happened was, going into my sophomore yeyear, now we're how we're in the team meetings and we're watching plays or practice or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so the coach would say, good play, because Jamie Dukes was our All-American.
Offensive
lineman. So it was like, great play, Jamie Dukes. Great play, Platt. Great play, Jamie. Great play, Platt. As the season goes on, so I'm like, okay, I might have a chance. Yeah. When Jamie didn't get drafted, I was like, oh, I better go take care of my books.
Yeah, because I forgot about Jamie. Jamie played a long time in the league, but he did not get drafted.
That's correct.
And it was amazing because
it was his height, but dude, he was a dominant player.
Yeah, he put his hands on guys.
Some people break the norms of the 6'3", the mold that they have in their minds of these guys. He's one of those, he breaks the rule for that,
I laugh. I call Jamie the first original Big Sexy because he'd get on TV G'd up and he
didn't just start that. He was doing that way back then,
I figured
hey, we be playing like intramural basketball.
Yeah.
This big joker want to be the point guard.
That was Frank Cornish. That was Big Frank Cornish was the same way.
Oh, he was the same way? Okay.
Corn Dog said he was magic. And he's 6'5", 300.
Right. That's what I couldn't believe. I'm like, come on, dude. You don't need to hold a ball.
Yeah. So you get drafted by the Rams. You're going
No, I got drafted by the Lions.
The Lions, that's right. You were drafted in the second round by the Lions.
Yes.
there a year and then to LA, or
Yes,
how many years?
1 year with the Lions.
Okay.
Darryl Rogers was my head coach that drafted me, but he got fired midway through my freshman year. I mean, my rookie year.
Yeah.
And Wayne Fonts took over. Well, Wayne Fonts, honestly, Wayne Fonts wasn't a big fan of mine.
Okay.
So,
and Wayne wanted to run the run and shoot, which tight ends are obsolete.
That's correct.
Yeah,
that's correct.
I get.
Hey, Jobs was getting a little scarce for a minute there for us, you know. There's a few other, you know, Houston was doing that too. So, you know, it was like, you know, it's getting scarce for us. But
at least, you would think with run and shoot, and it's maturated, it's changed now to where you see spread, but they still use
it's still the same thing.
Yeah. But they totally got rid of the tight end.
That's correct.
Yeah.
But you still needed that big body. And then the problem you have is when you get down in the red zone, you know, and you want to run the ball, you can't run the ball down there without, you know, you need that tight end at the point of attack right there.
Well, you go from the Motor City to LA and basically Anaheim, but still LA. Right. A lot of guys from UCLA. What was it like when you first got in the locker room with the Rams? What was that like?
Well, you know what? It was really interesting because when I was on the Lions, they didn't really have any big name superstar type guys there.
Yeah.
And so when I get to the Rams and I'm like, okay, this is Henry Ellard and Jim Everett and Kevin Green. I'm like, wow, okay, Jackie Slater, you know, so I'm like, wow, okay, this is interesting here. So everybody was really welcoming though. That was the most amazing thing. But James Washington, one of your UCLA,
J-Dub.
that's my fraternity brother. I really give him a lot of credit because he really looked out for me when I first got there and always checked on me, made sure I had anything. Taught me how to play dominoes. You know.
Yeah. Well, see, J-Dub was funny. My first year, he's gonna come and try to body me up, and I'm like, dude, you know, he would come and strike you, but I was like, I got him, and he's like, oh, this young guy ain't afraid. I said, no, man, I'm quiet, but don't do that too many times. I'm not gonna take that. Yeah. The other guy you had was Flipper Anderson, Willie Anderson.
That's my man. That's my top dog right there. That's my boy.
Flip still holds the record for receiving yards, right? That hadn't been broken yet.
And the funniest thing, he did that in his second year in the league.
I know, it was crazy watching that. Yeah, watching that game. Just remember, it was against the Saints, I think, and
correct.
He just
it
went
was
off.
A Sunday night game.
Yeah, Darrell Henley, who we got to talk about. D-Hen.
Yeah, that's my guy.
Oh,
that's
just
my guy.
so
Great
many
brother,
things.
Though. Great brother.
So we'll spend some time there. But with the Rams on the field,
right?
What was it? I mean, like, you were there long enough to kind of establish yourself, start to learn. What was it like as you got more comfortable with playing in LA?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I was really, really frustrated. I got there in '89. I was just happy to be there in '89, still learning the system, getting acclimated. But 90, 91, I was really, really frustrated just for the fact is I wanted to play. John Robinson was more comfortable with the guy that they already had there, Damone Johnson. And so for those 3 years, man, it was rough because, like I said, I was really, really determined and anxious. Because, it's crazy when I'm looking on TV and I'm seeing you balling, and then here I am. I'm still, I might get 10 snaps a game. But, I realized later on, they did me a favor because I couldn't have played 10 years had I been playing during those early years. I wouldn't have made it. My body wouldn't have held up. Body wouldn't have held up.
Well, let's take a quick break. We'll come right back with Pat Carter right after this.
Hi guys, Dee Dee Wong here, and as you guys may know, I am an international award-winning speaker, I'm an entrepreneur, and I love investing in amazing products out there, one of which is Now Thin Energy. It is a plant-based beverage. It has really huge hydration benefits. My favorite is the Peach Passion. I am so excited about this project. It's called Thin Energy. Please check it out.
All right, we're back with Pat Carter, just chopping it up here. So PC, we talk about the Rams. Daryl Henley. I mean, that's one story you and I always go to when we talk. Daryl's in jail, has been there for a while, got into some trouble. But it's just interesting. You saw kind of the genesis of it. I saw him in college and got to play with him. Good brother. But what were your impressions? And could you see some of that happening when that was going on?
No, actually, when it all shook, it surprised me. I was blindsided by it, and knowing him the way that I thought I knew him, I never would have thought that was something he wanted to do. Let me tell you this Daryl Dehan story one time. He comes by my house, and I lived in Corona, which is Riverside. Okay. And I forgot where he lived then, but anyhow, he came and picked me up. He's like, "Hey, I need you to ride somewhere with me." I'm like, "Where we going?" He said, "Just ride." I don't know if you remember, he had a Corvette.
Yep.
So we just riding, re-riding, and I'm like, "Where we at?" And he's like, "Just ride." I look up, and we're in what is that? Where Magic lives?
Bel Air.
Bel Air. There you go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we're pulling up at Magic Johnson's house, and I'm like, "This Magic Johnson." He's like, yeah, this is my boy, man. This is my boy. Magic Johnson was having a party. Yeah. He just scooped me up and took me with him. I didn't know that, you know? Just great guy, though, man. He just made some bad decisions, bad choices, and that he didn't necessarily have to do.
I know. And that's the one thing, we talk about. I always ask people this, what was it about the NFL? Everybody asks me, what you like about the NFL, but I always ask when I have people on, what was it that you remember the most about the league? The games, practice, locker room? What was it that opened your eyes to a whole different thing?
Well, for me, was the locker room. I mean, well, I'll say it this way: when people ask me, "Do you miss playing, or I say I miss the checks and the camaraderie."
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because the locker room was a safe haven for us, there could be so much turmoil going on outside of football and outside of your life, but once you're in that locker room with the fellas, that was like a safe haven, and it was just a great place to relax and just be yourself and insulate from everything.
And what were the biggest things for you as you left the Rams and went to other teams? What did you find when you went to those other places? I know it's interesting because you go in the league as a boy and you kind of become a man. Right. What were some of the things that you learned, or what you learned about yourself as you went through that process?
Well, when I think of that, the first thing comes to my mind is when you switching teams, you don't appreciate some of the things you had at the Rams. And I give you a perfect example was our equipment guy his name was Don Hewitt and his son Todd Hewitt. Okay. Man, I'm talking about first class. Those guys were first class. Never gave, hey, Todd, I need some sneaker. Todd, I need this. Mm-hmm. No question. Just gave it to you. Blah. Now I went to other teams and man, I'm like, wow. So, it's the little small things like that you don't appreciate until it's gone,
Well, PC, I love your post also. So you finished playing and then you went to coach some. How was the coaching compared to playing? I always ask that one too.
For me, coaching that's tough sledding. That's tough sledding. And then what I don't like about coaching is your livelihood depends on the success of others. Yeah. And being a player, our success is based on our performance. Mm-hmm. But as a coach, it's not viewed that way. Your coaching success is based on the success of someone else. And that in turn makes it difficult,
Now you're all over social media and I like it. You talk about, being sober. You talk about your faith. Talk a little bit about that, because I think that's really important, being transparent and authentic, and how that's going for you.
To me, that's when I share it that way, I'm giving a little bit of myself away, but it also it's holding me accountable. Mm-hmm. In 1997, which was my last season in the league, July 3rd was the first day I didn't take a drink, and I had probably been drinking off and on. I think I was 30 then, So I probably was like 16, you know, we drank then on the weekends, stuff like that back then. But it had become out of control where I had never been in trouble with the law. Any scrape I had with the law, it was due to alcohol. Okay. So it was like, I gotta get rid of this. And you know, when you're in that cloud and in that funk, you're not thinking correctly, and you're making bad decisions, bad choices. And so that was one of the best decisions I ever made. And that's probably why I'm able to sit here and talk to you today, because I have not had a drink now in 24 years. Yeah. And it's a great and it's a proud accomplishment that I have. And I'm really thankful for that. And obviously, it's not something I did, because I don't do 12 steps AA. I asked God to help me with this, and he did. He has brought me all the way, all 24 years of this. And he's taken the desire for me to even want to drink away. I used to love to drink.
Yeah. And PC, what was it? I mean, were you sitting there how did it come to you? You probably have been praying. I mean, it was already on your mind, and it was already, was it family? Was it, what was it that came to you that just said, I got to stop this. I can't do it.
Well, I had just been making too many bad choices. On the strength of transparency, I stepped out on my wife and created another child. And I was doing things that, sober I wouldn't have done. Yeah. But under the influence, I was just making a whole bunch of bad decisions. And it had to come to an end for me, because I don't think I ultimately would have expired. I'm just being honest with you,
How have you helped other guys that probably have, they come to you in confidence and it's not about names, but how have you helped others who come to you and said, hey, I have that same problem, or I'm just trying, I need some help?
Yeah, well, the biggest thing I always stress to anybody, because I don't like to tell people to do it the way I did it, because that's probably not the best way to do it. Because when I was getting treatment for it, they call it white knuckling, is what they call it. It's like you're just holding on. Because you actually need to go to meetings. You need to do the 12 steps and learn how to step away. It just so happened God stepped in for me and just took the desire away. But as far as helping others, yes, quite a few guys have come to me over the years, and I've always shared to them is making sure they go to meetings. And you can call me at any time, but don't call me drunk. Call me before you drink, but don't call me after you drink. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It makes no sense to call me after you're drunk.
I can't do much for you then.
Right. Yeah. Call me before you take that drink.
Yeah. And the other thing we kind of reconnected on was concussions. I know you've done some things with different Dr. Roselle and maybe some other folks that kind of helped you also, because I think we all struggle with that, headaches and the post-concussion syndrome. We don't talk about it, but man, look, I don't know. People ask me how many times I've been concussed, my bell rung. I have no idea.
Yeah,
five, maybe officially. I can remember once in Seattle, I got knocked out.
Right.
And I'm going to the other huddle. Carlton Gray is there I got hit by like 7 or 8 guys. The old Kingdom. Boom, boom.
Yeah.
So I'm laying on the ground. I get up and I'm walking towards that huddle. And he actually physically said, Buck, where you going? Takes me to carry cash. And they sit me on the sideline for a play or two. I get back in. I have no recollection of those 5 plays.
Wow.
So I don't at all.
Wow.
And so, when we talk about concussions, we tell the stories, but I think you've done a nice job of going out and really
getting in front of it.
Yeah, getting in front of it. How did that start for you?
Actually, that's why I say, man, it's funny how God, this is another instance where I think God just came in and helped me out. A former friend of mine, he's a former player as well. I don't know if you know him, Pig Golf.
Yeah, Robert Goff. We played together in New Orleans. Yeah,
that's right. You sure did. But anyways, he was telling me they were having some type of summit or seminar out at the Hyatt Hotel here in Sarasota, and it was Dr. Roselle and it was a bunch of older guys. I want to say they were in their 60s, but they were doing this treatment called neurofeedback. Well, I went out there and just got the information, listened to them, and came back home. Now, my wife at the time, she and I were having some issues as well. And she wanted me to go and get, go talk to a psychiatrist, psychologist, someone along those lines. I told her, I was like, I will, but let me go try these treatments first and see if they help. And so he was doing a, what do you call it? When they test a bunch of guys?
A study, clinical
study. There we go.
Yeah,
Bam,
yeah.
you nailed it. He was doing a study on us. And so the study went for about 6 months or so.
Okay.
And I was getting the treatment, man, and you could just see the results. I was not impulsive. Let's say this way, I didn't get mad and go off and yell and cuss and fuss. I could sleep better. My memory is even better, you know? So these neurofeedback, if anybody here is listening that's a former player, please, if you're struggling with anything, go seek out this neurofeedback, because I'm telling you, this has saved my life, saved my marriage, and saved me. Because I'd be in a bad place right now, Buck. I really would. I really would.
Yeah, you know, I talk to so many guys, and I think we all hear the surface stuff. That's why I wanted to have you on, because, you know, the stories we talk when we're just on the phone, we can sit up there and go, and my producer will laugh, but I mean, we'll sit there for 30 minutes talking about this story, that story, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, okay, I got to go. I hit you back.
Right.
So I said, we got to get on there, but I agree with you. If you have any of those issues, please, you know, reach out to guys that you know, or there are opportunities for you out there, and I make sure you just find somebody and somewhere, and get in front of it. So PC, what's happening now? What's going on in your life now? What are you doing to keep yourself busy besides watching ball and probably doing a whole bunch of other things?
I'm doing a little mentoring. There's a elementary school. I go and mentor, you know, talk to the little elementary kids. Obviously, they know that I play football, but you know, by me playing long before they were even born, you know, it's not as exciting to them as if I would have been a current player. But I'm, you know, just coming in and helping them, giving them the tools, you know, because I'm really kind of dealing with the ones that got some emotional issues.
Okay.
So I'm you know, just trying to spend time, because a big thing I noticed though, those kids just want someone to show them that they care. And so I'm trying to just be that person, to be there for them, to show them that I care.
Who was that coach or teacher for you? Who was the one when you were younger that kind of brought that out of you back in Sarasota?
I would say for high school, especially, would be Coach Ward. His name is James Ward. Matter of fact, he's the one I was telling you, I spoke of earlier, that told me to go take the Florida State trip. Okay. Because like I said, I was committed to Georgia. I was going to Georgia, you know, committed. I was tired. I was done. But, you know, he was like, and I trusted him because my 10th grade year or so, I thought I was going to go get me a college scholarship playing basketball. Yeah. He looked at me like, man, football is going to be your ticket. He said, you're going to go to college and you're going to play 10 years in the pros. And it worked out just like that, too.
That sounds like Coach Narcisse or Coach Gary Nichols for me. They were the same way. Coach Nick was a basketball coach, but he said, man, with your body and all the things you can do, tight end football, that's right up your alley if you don't play baseball.
And you know what's funny now, Buck? All the players in the league are basketball players. You know? That's
true. That is true. Well, I tell people all the time, I don't know about you, but what was if you boil it down, what were a couple of characteristics that got you to the league and made you a really good tight end?
For me, see, you and I had different skill sets. You was a sprinter, so you could ride. I was that big bruiser. You know what I'm saying? So I was the point of attack type tight end.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna take it 70 yards for you. But you know, I'll make a few plays for you here or there. You know, I can make plays, but I was more or less the point of attack. I didn't need no help blocking the 6 technique. I can block the 6 technique, 7 technique. I can scrape and kill a linebacker, you know. I was really kind of a glorified tackle, if you ask me.
Well, you know, what's funny is as you get older, and I played 5 years, but when your body start breaking down, you have to learn how to you're not the same fast guy that you were before. So you have to start doing the wham blocking.
Correct.
Going inside. You talk about getting concussions when you wham blocking in practice. Tony Siragusa, he knows it's coming, right?
That's the worst when they know it's coming.
or big
I got to tell you this story.
Yeah.
It's funny. You made me think of this story. We were playing New Orleans.
Okay.
You remember Frank Warren?
Oh, I remember.
Oh my goodness, dude! Frank Warren had to be about 320 back then.
And he was rocks. He wasn't like a like muscular solid,
Right.
but when you hit him, you know you
That's
hit
correct.
him.
You was gonna feel him.
Yeah.
So, Jackie is such a technician,
Yeah.
but you don't have to be a technician all the time. So he's like, so the quarterback's calling the signal. He looks over at me and says, "Come on down, Pat. Come on down." Well, guess what? Soon as Jackie tried to influence that, Frank Warren didn't influence with him. Frank Warren came and blowed me up, man. Boom. So,
I've been there.
So I tell Jackie all the time. That's my story with. I always say, "Come on down, Pat. Come on down." So that's what we always got.
Well, and for folks that know ball, Jackie played 18 years, 20 years. That's right. And let me give him all his years. We always talking about being a disciple of the league. That's 12, but when you play 20 years, and Hall of Fame guy, of course, but I can't count the number of Pro Bowls and all the different things that Jackie Slater was. You watch, if you wanted to see how it was done at that tackle position, he wrote the book on it. There were some other guys in the league at the time, but he was unbelievable to watch.
Correct.
What was it? What was it like?
Let me ask you this here.
Yeah.
During our era, I love me some Jackie, but me there was one more dominant. There was one more dominant right tackle. There was only one dominant right tackle back then to me, and that was Eric Williams prior to him getting hurt.
Yeah. Okay.
Man.
Oh yeah, Eric was a beast. You know, when you watch, it's interesting when you see good technique and the athleticism of those guys. I mean, Lomas Brown is another one you can think of.
Play with him.
I mean, you start thinking about, man, and they had to be good because you got LT, you got Bruce,
Tippett, Andre Tippett. Come on.
Yeah. Now,
Pat Willie, Ricky Jackson.
I practice
Charles
with them
Haley.
every day.
Man, we had monsters back then.
Yeah.
Pete, but you mentioned LT, but the one person to me that does not get a lot of credit is Carl Banks. Carl, I don't know if you played against Carl Banks, but Buck, let me tell you, usually I ain't never really had trouble like with a Sam back on a release.
Yes.
And I'm out of there.
Yes.
Carl Banks, I did that. He did not move. Wham! I was like, okay, I got to get him.
I tell people all the time, Carl Banks, I practiced against them in 1 year. I can't remember if I was in Cleveland or where, but we practiced against the Giants. And all the talk was about LT. But when I left practice, I said, man, as good as that dude is, this dude Banks, because LT was always generally on the backside. I mean, you would get him as a tight end, but really we didn't see him. But that Sam backer, and then I realized why he was so good. After practice, he was going over there on that Crowder machine, man, after practice. So when you're trying to release, the Crowder keeps you in position. Right. And I have never seen a guy after practice hit the Crowder like that. And he was just had them hands like he had been working out in the yard. And under the car.
I know what you said.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you see guys like that, but you mentioned one that I don't think gets a lot of credit either. Is not Chip Banks, who I played against also in Indy,
right?
But Andre Tippett. Woo. Tippett was a technician, 4th degree black belt. Yeah. Didn't talk. You didn't want to make Tip mad. That was the one thing I'd always heard as a young pup. Right. Don't get this guy fired up. And he was generally, pretty mild mannered. But man, when he wanted to turn it on, you weren't gonna block that guy.
That's correct, man. That's why I said during our era we had monsters, man. Monsters. I don't see a whole. I mean, you got a few players that are really good, but I don't think of the caliber. I'll say it in a bunch. I don't think you have as many today as you did back then. It's just so Kevin Green.
Man, yeah.
I mean, man, it was a bunch of those guys could rush the pass. Dolman.
Good era of football. Hey, we're gonna take a short break. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Mike Gardner, founder of Thin Energy, the wellness energy that delivers each and every time.
In 6 weeks that I've been taking Thin Energy, I feel fantastic.
I lost 7 pounds in the first week.
You just squeeze it in, you take a shot, and you're done.
Get your drinks, get you hype, get you ready.
I feel great.
Jump on, try Thin Energy.
Drink it, live it.
All right, we're back with Pat Carter, chopping it up. It's been a good episode. Great stories. That's why I had to have you on, PC. I knew that would happen.
I got another story I got to tell you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I get this a lot where people's like, when they find out I went to Florida State, so they were like, oh, so you played with Dion. I'm like, no, Dion played with me. I was there first, and I was starting when he got there.
That's what I was going to ask. I meant to ask you that during our Florida State segment, but talk about Dion, because I don't think we know, because we saw it. Mm-hmm. When a guy is that fast and has that ability, and not only was he a great football player, he played baseball. I don't know if he played basketball, but I know he ran track.
Oh, no, he played basketball, too.
I was going to say.
No, he was all of that.
That explosiveness that he had was unmatched. And I mean, when you see it or up close and personal, what give us a couple of stories on Dion that you remember, like, oh my, that's a different level.
The two that stick out was his freshman year. We played University of Florida up there. Mm-hmm. They beat the brakes off us. They had a dude, Lonzo Johnson.
Okay,
great. They had a great team that year too. Anyways, Dion was a punt returner. Mm-hmm. All I can tell you is he returned a punt. That is, to me, still to this day, that's one of the greatest punt returns I've ever seen in my life. Because there was a part in there, he just turned sideways and got through them dudes. It was just incredible. And you got to remember, he was only a freshman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that play, and then we played Miami, I want to say his sophomore year, my junior year. And there was he and Michael Irvin were going at it. Mm-hmm. And Testaverde tried him. I just always remember it was a catch he made. I mean, Michael was guarding him.
Yeah.
But he caught the ball and took it from Mike, you know? But it was just an awesome catch that he did, you know? Phenomenal athlete.
Walked in the locker room and you knew he was special, or was he quiet? Or, I mean, did it kind of take a little while?
He didn't get vocal until the older he got. Early on, you know, he was just finding.
He's trying to get his.
But he was a really, really good dude. You know, people tend to look at the prime time and not really know Dion.
Yeah.
Dion is a really good brother. That's a good brother. Good brother.
Well, a lot of guys tried to keep up with him in Atlanta, and they tried and failed. Because, you know, Dion could go and he had all those things, and it's good to see him now at Jackson State also. I think that's good for that program. It really gives.
Well, I think it's good for Black college altogether, though, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I like to see that with guys like him, Eddie George, more guys getting opportunities to give those schools some exposure.
Correct. I agree.
Yeah. Now, would you, if Dion called you, would you consider going to coach some tight ends at Jackson State?
No, sir.
He couldn't talk you out of retirement.
I just ain't got it in the tank anymore, bro.
Even if he said,
I got a slow lane now, Buck.
I got a private plane for you. I'll come and get you and bring you back home.
Nah, I can't do it. I'm in the slow lane, Buck.
Hey, so PC, we got to get you in the 2-minute drill. What we always do is we got to march down the field. You know this drill easy. Okay. Just a couple of quick questions. Pop them, man, and, you know, answer them. I make them easy so you can score.
All right.
I always tell people that.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. So what was the biggest catch for you in your career, pro or college?
Oh, you asking me to remember that? I don't remember.
All right. Biggest play, pro or college. Just something that stands out that when people say Pat Carter from Florida State, they remember.
Well, I remember we played Auburn.
Okay.
My senior year, that was Andre Bruce them.
Okay.
And they were supposed to smash us, but we went out. I had a great game. I caught like 7 balls that game. They never really turned me loose, but that was I do know after that game, people knew that I could catch the ball. Florida State always knew I could catch the ball, but we just didn't use me like that, you know.
Okay.
So that would be it.
Yeah. What's in your Apple Music or your Spotify? What you listening to right now? What's
now,
on?
man, right now I'm a jazz head right now.
Okay, yeah.
And this dude Marcus Johnson is my man right there.
Okay. What about Marcus Miller?
Oh, I like him too.
Okay, but Marcus Johnson.
I caught him some years ago in Cleveland.
Okay.
Yeah, he's good. I got a couple of his songs on my playlist as well.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. You're moving down the field. Got a little jazz. We're going. We got a little timeout. We're getting in the scoring zone now.
All right.
Yeah, we got to get you a little corner out. This time, complete the pass.
Yeah. I'm taking the high angle on it now. I ain't gonna flatten. I'm taking the high angle.
So you spent that time in LA. What was your biggest memory in LA besides the Magic Johnson party that you can remember about LA? That's like, wow, that's LA.
Well, I'll say it this way. I noticed when you go to the nightclubs out there, those were some of the most beautiful women you could ever see. and you know what was funny? I always remember, it was two people I always remember that I saw. You remember Bivens, DeVoe Bivens?
Yeah, uh-huh.
Man, I saw him, but when I saw him, he was tiny. He had to be about 5'6", 5'5". But dude, he had the most beautifulest 5'6", 5'5" women with him walking right behind him. I was like, wow. But the dude I saw that really blew my mind was Prince.
Okay, yeah.
I had never seen Prince before, so I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Dude had on heels, but he was so tiny. I couldn't believe how tiny he was. But I also noticed there was I think we used to laugh and call it like a food chart or a depth chart. So when you go to the club, musicians, actors get priority. The Lakers, the Raiders, then the Rams. We was way down the food chart. So that's what we all used to laugh about.
Well, sometimes we would even get on that food chart a little bit. We would be because we were actually pretty good. Well, got you in the back of the end zone. You scored. That was good. You just made me think of a story. I can remember going. I don't know if it was still going on when you were there. The Funky Reggae. It was on Thursday night in La Cienega somewhere. I can't remember exactly where. So you go in. And Eddie Murphy had his entourage, and Mike Tyson was there. But Eddie, you would see a whole bunch of people, Charlie, Eddie, Uncle Ray, and all their entourage, and you could barely see him, and you just see him moving around. And so you get out on the dance floor, it might be Michelle Pfeiffer, the girl from The Golden Child. Right. It was just it was just crazy, but it was every Thursday night. And I agree with you. If you weren't with somebody or knew somebody or you didn't ball, you weren't getting in the door.
No, sir. You sure wasn't getting in the door at all. Yeah. Hey, but let me tell you this. This was my very first time. When I got there, they took me out to the Comedy Act Theater.
Okay.
And first person I always remember seeing, I was like, oh, that's Robert Townsend. That's Robert Townsend. Yeah. All the guys looked at me. They was like, oh, that's right. You just got out here. I was like, oh, I felt so stupid. I was like, oh, that's right. I'm a newbie out here.
Did you ever get to see Robin Harris down there?
That night, that same night, he clowned me too. He picked me out and clowned me.
So we went down one time and Larry Lee was with us. And Larry was big at the time. Larry played offensive lineman in the league too. Right. And he had on one of them Coogee sweaters. Uh-huh. And he said, look at this big old sofa. Let me come sit on you. And Larry we laughed all night. And then he came by afterwards and talked to us, man, I don't want you big brothers get mad at me.
He did that. He said,
I got to pick on y'all. The women going to come by now and talk about this.
And that did work too. And it worked.
Yeah, we had such a good time. Well, PC, man, it was good having you on. We'll have to do it again, man. What I want to do during the football season is get you and maybe one of the Miami guys, maybe Bernard Clark. Woo, the two of y'all together would be. That'll
be good. But the only thing about it, he has bragging rights because he's won.
Yeah.
I didn't win. But the one thing I could always tell him, y'all got me drafted because I always play well against y'all. Always play well.
Man, that's good. Well, I appreciate you coming on, man. You have a good one. And
you too, my brother.
We'll check you out. So check us out on any adsn1.com platform. It's been chopping it up. Thanks for Pat Carter and the producer, Kevin Toll.
All righty.
Hi, I'm Mike Gardner, founder of Thin Energy, the wellness energy that delivers each and every time.
In 6 weeks that I've been taking Thin Energy, I feel fantastic.
I lost 7 pounds in the first week.
You just squeeze it in, you take a shot, and you're done.
Get your joints, get you hype, get you ready.
I feel great.
Jump on, try Thin Energy.
Drink it, live it.
Many people are looking for natural alternatives to help ease their aches and pains. Begin stopping the pain with the help of Pain Stopper. Formulated by healthcare providers, Pain Stopper helps alleviate a variety of physical ailments so you can get back to doing what you love. Our products are triple independently lab tested to ensure the highest quality hemp available. Visit painstopcbd.com for more information. Pain Stopper, because why manage pain when you can stop it?
At Heslop Wealth Advisors, our goal is to help small businesses develop quality retirement plans for their employees through our Lunch and Learn seminars. We provide lunch and learning tools to help your company succeed and unmatched customer service.